Recently, I completed my playthrough of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and I wanted to actually talk about it on a video here today because this was my first endeavor into the Assassin's Creed franchise. I know people are going to say, well, that's dumb. Why didn't you just start from the beginning? It's because I went on ones that were generally the highest reviewed, and Black Flag, for a lot of people, was actually like top 5, top 3 Assassin's Creed games of all time. And I thought, you know what, I played this as a kid a little bit, but never beat it, so I want to go back and play this. And I think the gameplay should be good and everything, because they'll have worked on any of the bugs that would have been in the previous games. And I can still go back and play those previous games if you guys want me to do that for a video as well. But for today, I want to go over the things I liked about this game, the things I didn't like about this game. I haven't watched anybody else's review on the game. I kind of made some bullet points of everything I liked, from story to Edward's character, a couple of the side characters, the Animus stuff, which the Animus stuff is not really my strong suit. It's not really something I know a ton about, so I'm not going to be able to give you the strongest sources of information. This is all just coming from what I've said, or everything I've noticed within my gameplay, I guess you could say, right? The combat, the ship combat, a couple of the side characters, the overall stealth and assassin feel of the game. So this should be a very interesting video because I'm used to talking about the Batman Arkham games, right? And I might draw some comparisons because those games really set the standard for me in terms of what gameplay should be like in an open world game. So I'm not going to waste too much of your time. Let's dive straight in to the story. The story, in my opinion, was good, but I wouldn't say it was the greatest thing in the world that I've ever played. I thought it was pretty engaging because normally for me, I have a bit of a tough time when it comes to attention span. I have a hard time just sitting still. I like to be doing things. And when I'm sitting here playing a story mode game for the first time, at first it was a little bit tough to be engaged because anything with tutorials it's a little bit boring for everybody, right? But as you kind of get playing, it does become more and more interesting. You learn a bit more about Edward's character and his personality, where he's a pretty charismatic dude. He's a pretty interesting character. I wouldn't say he's as good as a Desmond or characters from the Ezio collection and stuff like that, which I haven't played the previous games, but I've seen stuff on the previous games and stuff, so I'm not entirely unknowledge, I guess you could say. But when you're talking about the story, I think one of the main things I took from it, and of course, like I said, it's my first endeavor, and if there's things that I'm misinterpreting, you guys can let me know down in the comments. But one of the things I really took from it is about losing people along the way, about having the friends closest to you is the most important thing in the world, because without friends, you really don't have anything, right? Edward becomes captain of the Jackdaw. He's got Adewale with him, he had a wife previously that had left him because she was tired of him being gone all the time, or that's at least how I interpreted. He met people like Mary Reed along the way, or I guess it was James Kidd in the beginning. But can I just say that whole James Kidd character? I knew the second I heard this person's voice, I knew it was a woman. That was the least surprising plot twist. I'm this guy sounds like a woman, man. Yeah, so it wasn't very shocking when that plot twist was revealed. But even that character I did like, and it's very sad to see die. There were multiple characters that were decent. I liked Adewale, I liked Mary Reed, but I didn't care for the other ones, right? I didn't care about guys like Vane, for instance, right? I didn't care. I'm actually blanking on the names right now because of to be honest with you, I just simply didn't really care about the side characters that much. I didn't really feel any sort of emotional connection to these characters. But the thing about the story is it's engaging to a point where you're kind of playing as a pirate. If you like pirate stuff, you're gonna like this game. But the thing for me is I'm playing Assassin's Creed to play as an assassin. And for the majority of the game, I felt like there wasn't that assassin-like feel. And I know a lot of people are probably going to attack me in the comments for certain opinions, but the thing is, I think your nostalgia bias might be playing some tricks on you. As a game, it's a good game. It's not a great Assassin's Creed game. I didn't necessarily feel like an assassin. This game for me kind of felt like a little bit of just way too many tailing missions. I'm just gonna, there's way too many tailing missions. I don't think that's very much of a surprise. I didn't enjoy the naval combat all that much. Being forced into ship combat situations, even having to tail a ship at one point, followed around, it's come on, man. What are we doing here right now? This is a little bit silly. And, I don't know. The thing is about the story as well, the whole Sage plotline felt like it dragged on for longer than it should have. And I know that if I'm saying that about Black Flag, I'll definitely be saying that about games like Valhalla, for instance, or possibly even games like Shadows, the newer RPG-style games that are really long, way longer than Black Flag. but I haven't played those games yet, so I can't really comment on it. But what I will say is the pacing just feels a little bit inconsistent. Like, it feels like you're so close to getting your goal so many times just to have it yanked away from you at the last second, which the story wasn't bad, right? Let me just preface that. The story wasn't bad, but it wasn't wasn't amazing or anything, right? It wasn't something where I'm like fully dialed in. This is one of the best games I've ever played. I thought it was okay. I thought it was an okay game. And I'm sorry this sounds a little bit all over the place. I'm trying to go over my bulletin points for this, so it makes it a little bit more clean, which is making it a little bit more messy at the same time. But you know what? We're going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it. And I wanted to briefly touch on Edward's character because a lot of people do love him for just being a charismatic, charming character who's able to kind of fit in no matter where he goes, whether he's an assassin, whether he's like a pirate, whether he's, working for the opposite side, if he's working with the Templars or whatever it is, he is able to kind of fit in various spaces. But the problem is with him, his motivations solely rely on money. Literally, like the entire game. He's like, oh, I just want this so I can live the easy life. I just want this amount of money. I want to take this. I want to take this for the money. That's pretty much his entire character motivation, where I wish that we saw a little bit more of the stuff with his wife and stuff. What exactly happened. Like, we kind of get the gist of what happened, but I wanted to see more into that storyline a little bit more. I wanted to hear stuff like, I want to get my wife back. I wanted to hear stuff like that, where stuff that it didn't really seem like that Edward was necessarily too bothered about it. It seemed like he was more literally just motivated and driven by money. And the way I look at it, right, as an Assassin's Creed game, he kind of turns like assassin at like the end of the game, right? But for me, it's like, it kind of just seems like, oh, well, I've lost everything. I've lost the closest people around me. A lot of people on my ship have left me. Like, the only people who are still on my boat are these nameless NPC crew members that we know nothing about. But when you take a look at, like, guys like Adewale, he left the ship to become an assassin. James Kidd died. Any of the other characters that that had somewhat significance on the story had died. So only then does he decide, okay, well, maybe I will try to become an assassin because I've kind of lost everything over the past few years. So let me try to become an assassin because to just try to regain some sort of status. That's kind of what it felt like to me personally. But, like, the combat, okay, we'll touch on the combat because I'm not really one to be like super deep on character analysis. The combat, in my opinion, was fun. I actually did like the combat in this game, particularly the melee combat, right? The stealth combat, no. The stealth combat was not very good. But the hand-to-hand combat was very good because you couldn't just spam X. You couldn't just like spam strikes and kill people. No, because some of them would block and some of them would even counter whenever you tried to break their defense and you had to wait for them to counter them, right? It was very good. It felt decently well made, especially for the time that it was played in, right? And like, can I just say my favorite weapon in this game was the Berserk Darts? I thought it was the funniest thing in the world, shooting people with Berserk Darts and watching them go after their own teammates. It was probably the funniest thing I've ever felt in the world. Like, that was so funny. But the actual stealth in this game was basically non-existent. There was, like, no incentive to be stealthy. Like, it's pretty easy to just get yourself into a combat situation where you can just get everyone to attack you at once, but you can just kill them. It's not overly easy to combat, but it didn't feel like there was, like, oh, if they see you, they're going to immediately shoot you on sight. It wasn't like Batman Arkham, where you had to be stealthy, or at least it was very much required to be stealthy. No. In the Batman Arkham games, like, you have to be stealthy. In this game, it's like, you don't really have to be. It's kind of more of an optional thing. But I've already touched on, like, the actual ship combat and stuff. I'm not going to touch too much more on that. Batman Arkham Knight's combat, the tank combat, was way better. It's way better. The open world settings, there was a lot to explore, but I never really felt settled in due to the constant need to just be using the ship constantly to go from point A to point B to point C. It's constantly by way of ship, and I just never felt very settled in, and it kind of made the pacing of the game feel kind of long and drawn out. Thank goodness there was a fast travel menu. Let me just say that. But for the parkour, I would say, like, it's fine. Like, it's good, but I wouldn't say it's, like, my favorite or anything like that. Like, the parkour is kind of cool when it works, but sometimes it's a little bit, like, I don't want to say buggy, but it's, like, it's not my favorite thing in the world, I guess. But yeah, I guess overall, like, this game had good gameplay. There are good assassin moments when they do happen, but there's so few and far in between that it's kind of hard to really enjoy it, right? I love the theme of, like, losses and consequences for your actions. Like, losing everything from trying to be greedy and everything. I do like that. I just wish they tapped a bit more into the assassin stuff. And for more of the stuff I didn't like, for like a little TLDR, it's just repetitive with the tailing missions and the naval combat. The pacing for me felt extremely inconsistent. The game felt longer than it needed to. And it felt like there was more pirate than assassin. But I understand like that's the point of the game. But like it just wasn't, it didn't do it for me personally. And I want to touch very briefly on the whole Animus stuff because I haven't even talked about that stuff yet. I thought that the Animus stuff was like okay. I didn't really understand it though because like in the first games you're doing it as Desmond, right? If I'm not mistaken, you're in the Animus as Desmond, but you actually get to see this character. In Black Flag, you don't get to see this character at all. You don't even know who you're playing as. You're pretty much just getting blackmailed into doing work for some guy that you don't see until later in the game, right? Like you have no clue what you're dealing with here. Like, I don't know who I'm playing as. I don't know who I'm doing dirty work for, and it doesn't really draw me in. It doesn't really excite me very much. I think the Animus stuff in theory, though, is really, really cool, but in this game for me, it didn't really do it because you don't even see who you're playing as. It's like, I can't feel any connection to this character because I don't even know. But guys, this is a very scattered analysis of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and I'll be doing more Assassin's Creed games going forward, but I'm not sure if I want to start on the earlier games or if I want to just go into like the RPG era. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!